I'm going to do a couple videos about shenanigans, specifically the shenanigans around this illness that's going around that's got us shut in a lot of it. Who knows for how much longer. But there are so many special interests and so much shenanigans around this. It strikes me as one of those things where they did everything at the same time so that we couldn't pay attention to all of it, because there's too much going on, too much theft, too much power grabs, just too many things at the same time. So we don't know what to focus on. We just know that there's a lot of something going on, a lot of stuff, but we have bits and pieces. So I wanted to grab things one bit or piece at a time and kind of put it together as a larger piece. So I'm going to try and do this one or two items at a time per video. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the Bill Gates connection. Happen to notice how interested he is in vaccines and such. It's pretty much has been his thing, vaccine stuff, for a while now. So he's invested in all of the companies that are vying they're all trying to create the vaccine. So he's invested in all of them. So no matter who comes out with it, he profits. Even if he says it's non-profit. No, I don't think this is non-profit. Well, so he's got his hands in that. He also operates the CDC. The CDC largest contributor is the US government, and the second largest is Bill Gates. So Bill Gates has a controlling interest in the CDC. Funny how the CDC are the ones who suggested masks and have done the things that are supposed to make us more afraid, basically. That's my opinion, that's what the intention is with these masks and all these different, because there was no study on those masks. I looked this up. There were no studies that said that the masks with cloth on them would be more helpful or anything. And the WHO didn't change their policy at all. Still, there is no thing that says masks are better. In fact, it says the contrary. It says don't wear masks unless you are sick or are spending a lot of time with somebody sick. So the CDC, of course, did all the fear mongering. Well, of course, Bill Gates is running it. So, all the fear makes sure that whoever's or whatever the virus is, that everybody's going to take it because they're in more fear. I also think that that's why they let this spread so wide, because more people are going to need the vaccine, because there's really no excuse for all of the bumbling that kept the PPE from getting to hospitals and from the equipment that hospitals need. It was just, they're causing chaos. There's no way that they couldn't get them to where they were supposed to go. We had them donated. Like Jack Ma donated some crazy amount of face masks, but it didn't go around. There's just all kinds of, these are shenanigans, right? So you got Anthony Fauci, who is the doctor that they, are putting forward as the main doctor guy and in charge of all of this, seemingly. Well, Fauci has a background. He's been the medical advisor to all of the presidents in the White House since Ronald Reagan. Now, a good portion, 10 members of the Project for the New American Century, were in the second Bush administration. A great many of them were in the Reagan administration as well, and some go back as far as Ford. Maybe even earlier, maybe Eisenhower, maybe. So anyways, Fauci goes back to the Reagan administration as well, and I've suspected the Project for the New American Century guys, even though it's no longer there, I just feel like those guys are still doing things behind the scenes, because this whole event is so much like 9/11, and they had their hands in 9/11 so much so that I suspect that they literally planned and executed it. But that's my opinion. I cannot prove that without a doubt, but the circumstantial evidence is really, really damning. So Fauci goes back and is connected to those guys, and this whole thing has come off just like 9/11, where they had all these corporations just lined up to make a ton of money. As soon as this happened, all the corporations were right there, all the medical, all the pharma industry, and how they, even before this, they demonized vaping and made it scary. And then you got the pharmaceutical industry, which I've always wondered why the pharmaceutical industry isn't more involved in trying to outlaw pot, because it challenges their product. But I don't know, that's a theory that they might be involved in the vaping thing, because that vaping illness suddenly went away, and it has all the symptoms of the virus that's been going around, that I'm not naming because I'd rather not get any more of my videos taken down. So you got Fauci, who's involved with all the way back to the Reagan administration, and he is the main guy. He's like the head of the board at the National Institute for Health, NIH, and they are the ones that approve which vaccine will get through, or he's involved in the approval process of the vaccine that he's scaring people over. And he's totally involved in this and trying to stretch out the process and scare people for longer. And I don't know what the end game is with how much time they're having us take off of work. I don't know what the intention is there, but I don't trust that it's a very good intention because it's destroying, and I mean destroying, the economy. I don't know if the economy will ever bounce back from what's going on right now. This is going straight into a new paradigm, and maybe there's a good chance that that is the intention, because these guys, Gates, all these guys are globalists. They want one world government, one controlling body for the entire world. And this is globalism. And the neocons, what they were about is globalism. If you look at the Project for the New American Century, look at what they were trying to do. Exactly what's happened. They're trying to take out China before China became the next superpower. So they did that. I don't know how much they were involved, but that's what they planned, is to take out China and take out 7 countries in 5 years, like was stated by General Wesley Clark. That was the whole plan, is to take out 7 countries in 5 years. It took longer than 5 years, and they're still working on Syria and Iran, which were both on that list. But you can tell that that's exactly what their agenda has been, those countries. And their end game was they wanted to get in there and control resources and make it all messed up. They weren't trying to take over. They wanted to make everything chaotic so that they could kind of rule by proxy. In other words, they wouldn't have to put troops in there because it was too chaotic, and they could deal with the different warlords to get whatever they wanted. So, to make it chaotic so that we could control it that way in the Middle East was just so that we could have not just, there's a lot of things, of course, but it was so that we could have control and have a foothold in order to fight China. Their whole plan was to have multiple large-scale wars, fighting multiple large-scale wars simultaneously. And that's what they've been setting up to do. They've got Venezuela in their sights. They've got Iran, Syria, and they're seemingly not even concerned about butting heads with China and Russia, which is asinine. I don't know why they don't think that that's a threat, and I don't know why they think that they can destroy China and get away with it without causing a nuclear event. I don't know if they just don't care. I don't know. But I think that they're involved in all of this because it's got the same signature as 9/11. Anyways, since Fauci goes back to the Reagan administration, like Cheney and Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz, all those guys are from the Reagan administration. They're the neoconservatives. Those are the guys that are doing this. At least 9/11. They were deeply involved in that, and they deeply benefit from this because it's what they wanted to do, and I suspect that China was a target. And I really, really suspect that Iran was a target. And these are all targets that they wanted from the Project for the New American Century. Those guys, they were planning on doing this stuff. So I highly suspect them for good reason. Anyways, that's what I've got for today. Fauci and Gates, and that goes deeper, but those guys, shenanigans. All right, take care.
What is that?